Hi, and welcome to Strictly Speaking. Tonight is Tuesday the 15th, and tonight we have a sound designer with us, and currently the associate professor of sound design at State University of New York at New Paltz. Sunny, welcome to the show tonight.
Thank you very much for inviting me today. Josh and I'm a sound designer from South Korea, lives in New York City. I'm a little bit north of New York City, and then my school is also 70 miles north of Manhattan. So I'm there. I met Josh at graduate school. We are in the same class, and I wish I became more friendly at the time, but you will know why I couldn't talk to you a lot at
Yeah,
that time.
yeah, sound people don't make sound that often.
No, at that time I had English problems. So.
Oh no, I was just thinking about the amount of time we spent, in the hallways,
Yeah.
trying to get shows up and running. So,
Yeah.
no, we had a lot of fun at Cincinnati Conservatory of Music up in Cincinnati, at University of Cincinnati. And but yeah, that was what you were saying. That's 11 years ago. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Haven't talked to you for 11 years.
But hey, here we are talking. So let's get right to it. Um, First question: what is a sound designer, Sonny? What does that role mean to you?
Yeah. So sound designer, if I want to make it academic, like there are acoustic sound designers that design the theater venues, calculating the reverberation time and then absorption, reflection materials. And also there are sound designers making stories like us, like telling the stories for maybe TVs, now YouTube, web series, also theater venues like us. So we are creating oral image of the storytelling. All other designers, if you look at those, they are all visual designers. And we are the only people create the oral image, like sixth sense of human senses. So that's us. Some of us are designing mainly the content design. So we create the music to tell the story. And then some of us are strictly design the sound system, the putting the microphone connectors on the orchestra, and then setting the speakers so people can hear and communicate each other. And then some people are doing both. And then not everybody is perfect for anything. So some people gather the team, now the teamwork. If sound designer is good at one thing and then hire associate assistant good at another things. Yeah.
And sorry, go ahead. No, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was going to say, so you mentioned, sound system design and content sound design. Where do you find yourself? Do you find yourself straddling the middle or doing both?
When I graduated college, I wanted to be a musical sound system designer. When you work on musicals like American Broadway style and West End style musicals, there are millions of music people there, music composer, arranger, supervisor, whole the kinds of talented musicians are there. So for us, we just deliver what the music team says to the audience, and then to actors so they can hear, also among musicians they can hear each other. So we focus on more like systems for those kind of things. That's a sound system design for us.
And do you find that you have an affinity? Do you like one or the other?
And then after I got the university teaching jobs, I had to design a lot of plays. I only got to design one when I was in graduate school because I told my professor I don't want to, because I couldn't understand. If I don't understand the text, I cannot understand the meaning of the text inside. And I had a cultural and language barrier when I was in graduate school. I was right off the boat at the time. And then after I got the teaching job and I had to design some plays. And then I had no pressure anymore because it's not professional theater. Nobody pays pays $5 of students to see the show. But for me, was more like research mood for me. And then started from there. And luckily, I got started designing some off-Broadway content design as well. And it's so helpful for me to do both, whether I'm telling the story using others' material or I'm telling the story with my material. That was, for me, still, I'm the system sound designer, I can tell.
Yeah, and I mean, so you also mentioned in there are the those who make the sound, the composers, and I see that you have some composing credits, such as the removal at the Manhattan Repertory Theater.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what? How do you find, or how do you see composing or being a composer helpful to telling a story through sound design?
Yeah. So when you have nobody to tell the oral image, so you have to read a score and then you start listening something, and then how you express that one, that's the key. If you can do it with visual image, you're the visual designer. If you can do it with oral image, you can be a composer and sound designer. And then I was very limited. I was kind of in the shell. I was thinking all the music has to be like New York Philharmonic play music. So before I went to graduate school, I thought all the music has to be very tonal music. But when I went to CCM, I changed my mind. Anything makes the oral image also be a music and sound. So, and then I got the courage to stacking up all those sound and music in my language, my own artistic language, and then that helped tell the story. No.
Yeah. And I think that, I mean, honestly, I tell our students that for me, sound can be well, the sound is for me the most powerful of the disciplines that we have.
Mm-hmm.
Simply because, you know, we can see a piece of scenery, we can see a piece of, you know, a costume walk across. But if we hear one minor chord, it immediately puts you into a certain, you know, a place that a visual element just simply can't do.
I always told my students in first day in sound design class, we have to be proud of ourselves. So have you ever cried over costume piece? Have you ever cried over scenery? Oh, this is just so sad, or this is so. You can't have any emotions from those visual lighting design. You're a lighting designer, but like for me, there are limitations for those visual designs can do, but we can manipulate emotions. We can create all the mood, pace, and emotions. We are like manipulators, psychiatrists. Yeah. So for us, I think that's a really good thing for us to do something for the.
Great. So everyone, don't forget we have the Q&A open, so please feel free to ask questions as we go along. So moving into some other things you've done, some of the really cool things that I've been looking at is the Olympics, the 2018 Olympics.
Yeah.
So can you tell me first how did you get involved with the Olympics?
Wow, that was amazing because when I graduated college, I studied as a stage crew because I had no skill and I had zero sound classes when I was in college. I just went to theater BA. And then I started working as a sound engineer. And the designer at that time was my boss, right? I followed him until I came to this country. And then he became the sound designer of this Olympics. And then he's like, Sonny, you know this digital sound system? Yes. And then he asked me, can you speak English? Yes. So I got hired right away because every communication from that point was through me. I translated all the documents related to sound, all the cue sheet, every single document related to all these Olympic ceremonies. And then I was the communicator between all other international foreigner steps and then between Korean steps. So I had like 4 things during the ceremonies. Oh,
Oh,
you
muted. Thank you, Sound. Um, how long was that process? Like, did you know how much prep time leading up to the actual Olympics, and you know what
yeah.
was the actual
I don't know about other sports games, but for ceremonies, it was a little bit different. So it's government money and IOC money. So they went out bid before they hired the sound designers, which is different from theater productions, right? So we hire designers, they go, and then they list of sound equipment and that goes to the bid. But vice versa, we got hired later.
ah
So already government chose with our taxes. So the bid went through. There was a theater sound rental company was there, and then we know what they have, and then we got hired and then I had to design the system based on what they have most mainly. And then I had to search a lot of things, not just the function. I had to study so much because I never done the broadcasting before. So I had to find a device can translate all this stadium live sound to the broadcasting. There were certain protocols I had to match. So I studied so much. I had a phone call to all those European companies makes audio equipment, whether this is is this comparable? Is this comparable? And then since this goes to the broadcasting, every single microphone also look was important. It's matching all of those. Scenic design team already drafted microphone. I'm like, why? I have to find a microphone looks like that? Picture image. So yeah, so we had to make some customized ones as well. So wow, how many companies I had to call. And also the broadcasting team, Olympic Broadcasting is headquartered in Madrid, Spain. And he was Portuguese. Anyways, I had to wake up because I still had a full-time job here, but I had to whole year prep before.
Wow.
Everyone, yeah. So every night after I created all of this and made homework, and then I couldn't go to bed until 4 a.m. So I started drafting, and then I started getting the phone call from Europe.
Oh, wow.
And then I took a little nap, went to school, taught that one. And then at nighttime, Koreans started waking up. So emails coming from Korean government, and then I had to send that along. So it was almost about 6 months of 24 hours of work.
Oh my gosh. Well, I tell you what, we're going to show about 2 minutes of that 6 months worth of work real fast. And take a look at it. Here we go, everybody. So, that was the opening ceremony that you worked on. So what was your favorite part of that whole process?
Favorite part is from a very small, tiny country. And then I got brought back up to my home country. I was proud of myself. And then something as a Korean, I love America, so don't get me wrong, but as a Korean, I can devote myself to my country's one of the biggest event in human history. And then my name will be there until human disappears. So they was so proud of myself. Yeah, that's why we rehearse 9 a.m. to 3 a.m. every day. I got locked up for 3 months in that negative 30 degree in centigrade of temperature. But because of this reason, I'm not a patriot, but just like, yeah, now I'm a grown up and I do something for my country with things I love to do in my whole life. So I could survive just because of that.
Awesome. Hey, so we have got the Q&A is starting to fill up, and I think my what can lead us into this question is, what was the most fun project you've ever worked
Um, Olympic was good, but I was not the fun project. I think, or the fun project I liked was American musical theater design jobs. That's why I came to this country, because I loved American musicals. I worked in West End, but it's great. But somehow I like this American story and American music, so I came to this country. So I think the most fun job was all the American musical associate design jobs so far. Yeah.
Was there a particular musical that you really enjoyed?
Yeah, I like the Kinky Boots. I was a liaison for that, and I love the Dreamgirls too. Oh my god, the music was so good.
I just jumped. There we go.
Yeah, the Kinky Boots. That story was amazing. When I grew up, LGBTQ was not the thing we could even talk about. We didn't even know the concept of that one. Nobody talks, and then right, nobody talks, nobody knows. And then when I went back to help this one, so I met the sound designer here in New York City, because Kinky Boots was running. So Korea was the first Kinky Boots productions. So only director, choreographer, music director, and all the designers fly to another country, and then they hire local crew and then translate into local language. The Korean speaks Korean, so we translated everything to there. And then when I flew back there 2014, I was very shocked. There was Kinky Boots, and another theater was doing La Cage. So those concepts, yeah, like, wow, the Korea is changing. And then I learned so much about the drag queen and all this, being just human beings. I love this one until I worked for Dreamgirls, because this one I learned so much, but I was only a system tech. Whatever I was told to do, I just needed to deliver to South Korea. But for Dreamgirls, I got to design the speaker systems. And then I worked with my alum from SUNY Newport. She was one of those 3 Dreamgirls. And she started up when she graduated as a chorus member for 6 years. She worked all the way up. She became a main girl. So I got touched when I worked on Dreamgirls. Yeah, I loved it.
Awesome. So we got another question real quick. What did you study in undergrad?
Theater BA. Okay. So I loved musicals. And then at that time, we only have 7 theater schools in the whole country. I went to school in 1994. And then musical theater program didn't exist. Nobody knew about it. My professor didn't know about musical theater very well. And then I saw a lot of Rodgers and Hammerstein VHS videos, King and I, like Sound of Music. My mother played. I couldn't understand very well, but kind of, what is that? I loved it. And then when I was in college, Broadway 42nd Street tour came to South Korea for the first time. Samsung made an entertainment agency, and then they imported the American musical for the first time. And then I saw that tap dancing with false proscenium, and like, we are in the money. And then at that time, I made up my mind. I'm going to Broadway. That's it. So that's what happened to me. Yeah.
And so it sounds like you've answered another one of our anonymous attendees, which was, what first inspired you to pursue this career? Is that? So yeah, it sounds like you're going to Broadway. So the other question we have. How have you seen sound design? How has the sound design field changed during your career?
Wow. So when I started, I started in 2001. There was some hybrid console between analog to digital. So we can program mute, unmute, and then we can control a little bit of parameters inside. And then I came to this country to study sound design, because there's no sound design school in South Korea. And then my professor, Mr. Hatcher, just gave me a small digital console. Figure this one out. Am I alone? So I was just sitting in the workroom by the prop storage there for a month with a manual, read through everything, and then figured it out. And then there was a first generation of digital console. Great. And then went back to my professor. I figured it out, and then we used it for the show. And then he bought the bigger one. Now you figured out this one. And then there was a big challenging. And then 4 years after, audio not just became 0 or 1, it all went up to network. So I had to study about IT things, and I wanted to give up. Like, I was turning into 30 years old, and I'm not going to do this. And then I went to Meyer's sound seminar. The teacher who taught us about all those networking, how to configure IP address and the switch, he was over 60 years old. And then I would shame on myself. If he figures out and teaches us, I'm only 30. What am I doing? I have to live another 45, 50 years more. I cannot just think like this. So I studied so hard about networking from that point. Yeah, and then so my generation became from analog to digital, and then digital, and the second generation of digital. So every morning I have to read all those, I subscribed all those manufacturers of sound companies. And then new thing comes up, and then, all right, today I have to master this.
I love that. Today I have to master this. Yeah.
Every day there's just something. So if I take 1 month off, and then I'm so behind. So it's so hard to be a sound designer nowadays.
So some other questions we have, and these go a little bit more towards the personal side. What parts of yourself do you see in your work?
What? It's that philosophical question. How can I accept them? It's, I think, language problem. What parts of myself?
Yeah. So like how do you pour yourself? How do you put your artistic ideas into your work?
I want to be just diligent and honest. I think when I got hired, I just don't get hired by, I don't know, people should know me before they hire me. So they have seen my work, they have listened to my work. And then when I got to work, and the director and I talk a lot what they want to have, and then I gave them what I was thinking of this project, and then we match up there. And then so far I didn't see a lot of director hated me. And then so I think so far most of directors came back, and then we worked more than once. Yeah. So I think it's a communication, and then you have to be very honest to what you can do, what you cannot do. And then if you just cannot understand, I meet some directors like 100 times. One music I had to make, I think, ended up with version 14 because I could not get into the same page with the director. So I made a new one, up to version 14. So for me, what I can do is I'm just being me. I'm just always optimistic, and then always not this Buddha mind. I'm just happy to be alive. And then in the given time, I just want to enjoy the life I was given with what I can do. So for me, with any project, I want to nail it down if I can.
We're gonna take all these quotes from you. Like, wake up in the morning, I got a
really.
This is great. Yeah. So let's go back. David Jones asked, what sort of music do you like to listen to when you're not working? Or are most of the musical tastes tied into your work somehow?
Yeah, I think now I figured that I like bossa nova or jazz and American musical theater music, because not just the music, but I think I like the style of some old jazz with not rock music. It's so loud for me. I have such a sensitive ears, and some jazz style music. I like Bring It On, like some kind of the pop. I like old jazz, Cole Porter, all the ones as well. I like Kinky with the pops and Rent. Rent is a little bit different, but I think what I like is it tells the story. So that's it. And the bossa nova, why I like it, because that rhythm is, I think that's my life clock. That's my body mind clock.
Yeah.
I think that's what my personality is. So I think I like it.
So, and Libby asks, what is your favorite musical, just in general, or whether or not you have worked on it? So,
Uh, musical I saw, what I really liked was, I think, Book of Mormon. I really liked it, so fun. And I was glad I lived in America long enough so I understood the joke behind of that one. And then I mentioned before the musicals I loved was music and story so strong. There's a Kinky Boots and the Dreamgirls. I really loved work on those projects.
so you mentioned being in, America long enough to gather to get the jokes of Book of Mormon. We have an anonymous attendee asks, how have you combined the Korean and American cultures in your work? Do they influence your work at all?
Oh my God, yeah. I just had a meeting yesterday for my next school show. I had a production meeting, concept meeting. So Waiting for Lefty. It's about taxi drivers strike in 1935 in New York City.
Okay.
And then at first, I don't know about the playwright, 1935. And second, I'm not familiar with taxi driver strike. And then in the play mentioned about President Hoover, President Roosevelt, I barely know about them. I have to confess, I went to Hamilton. I saw that one in the sound booth in West End. I only knew about one person among whole characters, George Washington. So it's so hard being a sound designer for theater in another country. You guys know everything, and I'm the only person like, who's that person? What are you talking about? I have to take the notes, and I have to have really good sound designer, very knowledgeable. So what did they say? I have to, every night I go home from the production meeting, I have to research about all of these people, all those events, all those, they talk about like little thing. The first sound design I had to do was a high school musical in my summer stock. I had to find high school bell, but I never been to American high school before. So that was the hardest sound cues for me. Like that kind of things were challenging for me. It's not just language. Language, I text my friends like, what does this mean? I don't understand this line. Because I looked up Urban Dictionary, just normal Oxford Dictionary. If encyclopedia, if that word doesn't pick up some, maybe that's a slang. So I have to text my friends and then still don't get it. And yeah, like those kind of things have to come. And then music, they are talking about, I have no idea. So it's so hard. And maybe that led me more to become a system designer, because that's universal language for me, to design the physics, acoustic, electricity. So
well, I mean, obviously you've been doing great. Let's take a look at this film, this little clip right here.
I hear
rockin'
in the land, and ringing the bells. I know, oh my Lord, it's rockin' in the land, and ringing the bells. Rockin' Jerusalem, in Jerusalem, ringing the bells.
By that.
I want to say that, when you start, it's about what you're doing, and the longer you spend doing this, it's about who you're working with that makes all the difference.
Did you do that?
People here changed my life.
Yes, I had to do that on stuff.
Oh my goodness.
So there you were on the Tony for the Tony Awards. Tell us what was it like being on that stage and being up there, accepting an award for a project that you and a whole team put together for Choir Boys.
Yeah, such an honor, because that was my second Broadway play. I designed a speaker system for that. And I don't know, you're familiar with the content. There are many shower scenes, so we couldn't put wireless microphones. So we had to plant 14 microphones everywhere on stage, and then turning on and off while the actor is moving. And then everything was on the MIDI. So I had to figure out the parameter and then program all that. And the operator was doing, go, let's go, 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 and playing the spacebar all the time. Yeah. So actually there was, yeah, because for the Tony nominator, they get 2 tickets, so they can bring their partner. They can also buy a pair of tickets. So the second floor of the Radio City was all the related people of the nominees. So I was there, and then Pitts and another associate, they were like in the third row. And then when they were talking about sound design category, I came down and I was all the way back of the first floor. And then if Pitts gets the award, he said he's gonna bring us to the podium so he can show us to the world, so we can get more jobs after. So I was calculating the time. It was about like 300 feet from the stage, from where they were in third row, and I was all the way back. So to match the camera while they were just standing up and then move like 2 steps, I had to run all the way down and then insert it in between those 2 guys. So actually somebody said I was crying, but no, I was doing this.
Awesome.
So, and then I went up there, and then how many people were inside of the Radio City? Like 5,000 people were looking at me. I don't know. And all those famous actors were in front, and then other nominees and everybody else. Also, my mother is watching this one later on. So that was a big moment.
Well, that's great. No, and I was like, I remember when I watched it, I was like, oh my God. It's Sunny. There she, yeah.
Yeah, I got like millions of text messages. Is that you? That person looks like you. Because he forgot to name us. Like I brought my associate sound designer, and he forgot name 2 of us. So my friends were like, "It looks like you." Yeah, it's me.
Awesome. So let's see. Lagan asks, do you have a dream show that you've always wanted to design sound for?
It's in Korean taboo. Like if you really want something, you don't want to say it loud, but like what I want to design is some musical. Yeah, I don't know.
Go for it. It's okay.
Yeah. Something maybe. I was just joking about myself. What was the musical movie was really popular a couple of years ago? La La Land. If La La Land comes on stage, I want to design immersive sound.
Ooh.
So I want to put the audience inside. I want to make 3-dimensional sound. But I don't know. I think they had some stage version in Los Angeles Philharmonic or something. I don't know. I'm not that famous to get hired to be the designer. So I have to work up really hard to be even considered as a sound designer.
Well, speaking of your sound designer friends in the industry, we have an anonymous attendee asking, do you have many friends in the industry, and how did you meet these people?
Wow, you cannot believe how small this theater industry is. So at our school, I'm a college professor. So we hired a lighting designer from New York City because we were so close. And then I opened our school show here. And then on the next day, I flew to South Korea to work on Kinky Boots. Kinky Boots to South Korea hired the Australian moving light operator from Melbourne. And he was talking on the phone with the lighting designer I just worked in our school.
Oh, wow.
The world is very small. So, yeah, I mean, Josh stressed enough, I'm sure, but you really have to make your name right. Otherwise, you have to.
I think so, yeah. I mean, we've got 40-something guests this semester on this series, and all of them are at least 1 degree of separation from me, if not, It's great. And it's funny how I hear from other speakers who are like, oh, you got Sunny on. Oh, you got so-and-so on. So,
yep.
Yeah, it's a small world. How do you think, Sunny, the sound design field will continue to change? Like, what do you think will be the next big innovation?
So like this COVID thing impacted our school as well. So we are still doing, we can do in person, but we reduce the class numbers into half. So and then we put all the acrylic barrier between. So we keep the social distance and everybody's on masks. You can see I made a mask hanger in my office behind. Anyways, so, but our department chair still think it's dangerous to have audience members. So the first production we just finished last week was a virtual reading. So we emptied out a lot of faculty offices. We put one actor in one faculty office. We placed a computer with a nice USB microphones, and then we did a virtual stage reading. It was very different from theater on stage. The sound did, I think, more than 75% of the job. And then we learned about web broadcasting, things like that. But if I'm not a medical expert, as you see, so if this virus goes for a long time, you cannot just sync with the current situation. You have to find something can substitute your career, right, with what you know and what you can do. So I've mixed some shows, like everybody recorded on their iPhone and sent it to me. I made a nice mix of that, like music projects, things like that. I did a virtual interactive sound design, so audience can come and type it, and then the Mambot answers, and then there's a soundscape, things like that, or virtual sound design. So something, whenever the society changes, new thing comes up, and then I think you should start learning about what you can do after. I also went down to the city, New York City, to do some film work as well, because I told you, I'm still 44 and I have many years to live, and I cannot just wait about this COVID goes away. What can I do in the meantime? So with what I can do, so I know about microphone, so I can do the field recording. I can mix about web drama, right? I also had audition about podcasting. I didn't get that one, but if I get it, I can get the whole series later on. Right? So the same thing, telling the story, but in a different medium. But all the skills and then all the mindset is applying. So I think from my view, we should keep looking what we can do.
Cool. Yeah. And I'm going to go a step further, and anonymous attendee that asked that question. You had mentioned that you went from analog to digital 2.0.
Yeah.
In your career. Do you have any idea, or what you hope, or what you might foresee to be the 3.0 version? Like, what do you think might be the next big innovation? You mentioned three-dimensional immersive sound.
That was popular. Started becoming really popular before COVID-19. So now it was paused. If he ever go back, and then maybe that one, and interactive, also remote. So I think if you ever go back to the same space with other people, immersive audio, right? Because visual image became more three-dimensional, and then sound should follow. So you can get the same sense of all those five senses, same thing. And or, as I said, remote work, something you don't see other humans close, but still can work together. Yeah, I think that was the second thing may come. So I would study about web broadcasting and web delivering sound narrative. Yeah.
So let's see here. Did you feel like you were always going to be a sound designer, or were there other fields that you considered?
I really wanted to be a backup dancer. I spent all my high school in nightclub, but my body didn't move that way. So, but I still went to drama school. I loved the musical. But I went to every single audition happened in 1999 in South Korea. I failed every single one, and then became a stage crew. So,
and how we are because of that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I listen to a lot of music and I have rhythm and I have a sense of music after that, because your body and sound and music that all work together. So that's, I think whatever you do comes back to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Yes. And I think that's true also in our work. Colleagues of mine, we often talk about in the process of design, how we start off with this initial idea and then we go all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
We always come back to that initial idea, and that's what ended up happening. An anonymous attendee asks, how does the sound get approved as fitting for a specific piece of work? Is it a collective agreement, or does it have to be approved by a specific person?
So more likely director. So director hires all the designers, and then director tells us, this is my concept of this play. We want to go in this direction. And of course, everybody perceives different way. So we bring things together. Scenic designer bring the scenic sketch or concept, lighting designer, costume designer, sound designer. We bring everything together, and then we are making everybody is on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
So you will have a lot of meetings with just between you and the director, and then also with among other designers. You have so many meetings before that ever goes on stage. So that's the approval process of
Or
design.
sometimes you go to version 14.
Oh,
So-
yeah, version 14, yes. Yeah. How many hours? I
Right.
put there. Yep.
Yeah, so many files that I have. Final, the real final. No, really, this time it's final.
Final version 14.
Final version 14. So when you do get to do composing, what's your favorite part of composing?
Let's see what I did before. I think collecting idea was the best idea. So I'm not a composer, starts with 5 lines with all these notes. So for me, I like costume designer collect some materials, right? Pictures and things. For me, started collecting the sound. Either I put the previous one, what I did was I connected a new synthesizer and then listened to every single sound that synthesizer has. And then I played the keys, the MIDI keyboard here and there. I created just a sound out of that sound, and I made just sample one. And then I played another sampler and then heard another sound, and then with some played a note and then created some sound, made a sample too. And I create all those sample, I think they was related to this play, and then lay them out and then bring them together. That's my composition process. So for me, listen to a new sound, make the new idea was fun part. And seriously, really fun part is when you play that one in rehearsal room, actor responds right away different.
Well, I think that goes back to that how
Yeah.
powerful sound is. It can immediately change. Your body has a
Yeah.
voluntary reaction to it.
And then when you're in theater and then you hear whenever you play the cue, actor responses, also audiences, or, oh, you hear it right away. That was me. I'm like, God here.
Do you have a favorite instrument or sound that you like to include in your work?
Vibraphone. I heard that one in CCM for the first time because I was also TA for jazz department as well to maintain my financial issue. Vibraphone sounds so awesome. Somehow, dong, 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 dong. Yeah, it's.
So do you include the xylophone in your work as well?
Vibraphone.
Vibraphone. I'm sorry.
Yeah, vibraphone. Yeah.
Okay.
I think I can play if I have the instruments, but nobody lent me that one so far. But yeah, I use a lot for fake sample instruments. Yeah, I love it.
We have a question out there that they want to know, do you think you'll end up doing sound design work for a musical about COVID?
Yes, of course. Like any event happening on human history becomes artwork, right? That's how we know about all those events, because people made it as a movie, people made it as a novel, people made it as a play. That's how we know. And then how many artists were suffering from this COVID event. And then this is such a big event. Nobody has seen this one in the human history like this. So my father went through Korean War, and then he said, I never seen something like this ever. I'm sure this will turn into a lot of different stories later on, and then I would make sound for that. Hopefully.
No,
Yeah.
no, I
Hopefully.
agree. I think we'll be telling these stories as well. And I think the stories we do tell that's not directly about COVID will the tone will be affected by COVID.
Yeah, too. That too. Yeah.
Do you think having a live band is very different in how it affects the audience from pre-recorded sounds?
Pre-recorded sound, sometimes it's really good. So like West End shows use a lot of pre-recorded sound, like because everything comes from the speakers anyways, amplified, so they can hire hire actors, really good singers, and then record it, make a nice recording. Everything is on the beat, so musicians are always accurate. And then they can hire really nice dancers. We don't even need to mic them. There was a P something musical I worked before, but America, we have musicians union and the actors union, so that's not going to happen. So it's good. Like America cares about human lives. Anyways, it's really good, but you don't get the same feeling from that one. Somehow very dry the soul, I can tell. And also audience want to see the live musicians right there, even though they don't hear anything acoustic. Just by seeing them, audience feel like this is very high quality musicals right away. So for Dreamgirls, we had to put the musicians behind. So for the curtain call, we had to use the projector to screen. So musicians were playing the curtain call in front of the audience. Yep.
So you are a member of USA 829, which oversees designers in the United States. And we have a question. Do you have a manager who helps you make connections, or do you do a lot of it on your alone?
Yeah, I wish I have an agent who can do those things, but I don't think, Josh, I don't think we have like, until we become really high for designers, we don't have agent like celebrity actors agent. Yeah. So for our agent is like taking care of some financial contract things, but they don't care about finding the transportation for us or finding a job for us or hire a makeup artist. I don't think designers agents do that. I've never heard about that thing so far.
Here's a fun one. If you had to choose an instrument right now that represents COVID, what instrument would that be and why?
Oh, something always here, like something is on your shirt, but cannot ever get rid of, but it's like something, right? Always make you uncomfortable and so scary. What is this sound? I don't know. Something really uncomfortable. Not vuvuzela. That's not bad. Not clarinet or not that kind of things. Maybe when you, I don't know, maybe a kazoo. I have no idea. Yeah, I'm awful. Going. Yeah, I'm awful.
Well, everyone, we have about another about 7 minutes left, so keep the questions coming. We got one just came in. Do you like sound design? Do you feel like sound designs inspire character development in stories?
Yeah, as I said before, you bring some music in the rehearsal room, play that thing, actors respond right away, changes whole mood of the story. So you have to be really careful, because if you are telling the story wrong, and then that's your fault. So.
And do you find yourself, because I mean, personally, I love being in that process as well. I mean, so often we as freelance designers, you know, we're brought in later in the game, you know, we're providing stuff. Do you find yourself able to be in rehearsals to help, you know, push the process along with the actors and the director?
Yeah, whenever I have a time, I go to the rehearsal room, because what do you want to do? You just sit down at home and then what are you doing? Like if you have downtime, just go to the rehearsal room and see what's going on. Even though they wasn't really related to the cue you are making, you get inspired and then you can see what's going on the play, so you can be more accurate for your design. But certain shows, like union shows, there's a limitation. When I show up, the producer has to pay me. So they said no to me to show up. And there was certain restrictions of actors union. I cannot see every rehearsals. So sometimes I really enjoyed to be working with non-union, like Opo Broadway shows, because I can be there all the time, just spending my time there. So another pressure, Broadway shows, like you get paid well, and then you have more paid audience. So you have a lot of pressure, but you have limited time to accomplish a lot of things.
Yeah, no, I agree. I like working in houses where I can still touch the shutters of a lighting
Oh
fixture.
my God. Yeah.
Like, I just want to move it. Just let me yeah.
Yeah, I have
So,
a microphone here. I have to, I just need to tip it up 1 inch, but I have to have a walkie-talkie. Can I have anybody can move this?
Yep.
Oh, yep. Good or bad, but that
So-
protects my rights.
Yes.
Yeah.
And let's see. When working with visual designers, do you feel like you both contribute equally to how the final product is presented?
Of course not. We are at the bottom of the food chain. And then I thought one day we would go up someday, and then projection designers popped up. That job category didn't exist before computer things came up. I mean, I heard about some people were doing with old projector, like film projectors and the television skills, but yeah, it was very recent. I think they became a USA category 2008.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
then
And,
pushed down one step down, because I think sound is very more subjective than objective visual designs. So, and then some people are not really sensitive about sound design, which I cannot believe.
Mm.
And producers want to put more money on visual work because audience members. I went to see the Broadway play, Broadway musicals. I saw the scenery changed like this, and people were wearing these things, but they don't talk about the sound experience they had. Maybe that's it. So our budget is always limited, and then we joins the company very late. I think lighting designer joins way before the sound designers. So we were given a lot of things already, like scenery design. We had a proscenium here. There's what we have, and the lighting designer said, "Yeah, I took over this one there." And can I put one speaker right here? So they had to trim something, and they put the grill, or like, can you move this moving light just 1 inch out of 180 of your moving light? Can I put just one speaker right here? So yeah, that's very sad still. But as I said before, seriously, we are the only people can make audience cry and laugh.
I agree with that. I think it is certainly, in my mind, the most powerful element in the room.
You're my friend, yeah.
And then finally, so we're gonna end with 2 questions. First one from our attendee: do you often have to hide your sound equipment in sets or scenery?
Depending on the shows, some shows don't want to reveal, like Les Miserables, like things. You don't want to have mic right here for people tell the kind of sad stories, or also the periodic style. So I worked for Miss Saigon Korean tour, the Cameron McIntosh. He's one of the most famous producers on West End. He did the right Saigon, Les Mis, Cats, it's all from his. And then he couldn't accept black speakers in front of, what's the color? The greenish, very light greenish color. Yeah, so we had to send all our speakers back to the manufacturer, paint the same color as the scenery. And then all other things we had to trim and they put the grill. Yeah, so, yep.
Well, our final question, we ask this of all our guests: what piece of advice would you give a young, aspiring sound designer or a student of ours, or anyone who wants to go into this field? What piece of advice would you give them?
For me, just being diligent, honest and optimistic, because this business, especially, it's not the business if you are the genius and then everybody can work together. You have to be the team player. And even in your team, you're not the one person. Sound team has like at least 3 to 5 people working together. So you should know how to work together, how to communicate well, and then being happy in there. That's one. And then second one, if you really want, that's like for human being and a big or good artist. And the second one, personally, if you want to be really successful in this business, and then you really have to polish your skill every single day base. As I said, study hard.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sunny, for joining us tonight, and thank you all who came out and saw this great artist, teacher, and designer, Sunny, speak to us about sound design. Sunny, thank you so much, and good luck with the rest of the year.
Thank you very much. Yay.
Yay. Everyone, if you would, take a look at the information at the end of the video, see how you can help support these type of programs. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.